I think the biggest piece of advice I got from somebody was don't take it personally. When you're starting a new business group from scratch in a asymmetric way, this is totally new. First of all, I have all the support I could ever ask for from head office, which is great. Still, there's a certain amount of stress and a certain amount of challenge that goes along with starting a new business group. And the advice of not taking it personally, because there's going to be wins and there's going to be losses, and just keep going, just keep pushing ahead. Don't let it get you down. It's not personal. It's just doing the job.
Welcome back to the workshop presented by Aplin Martin. On today's episode, we're joined by branch manager of the Aplin Nanaimo office, Scott Lewis, and project delivery services lead, Matt Jansen. Combining for over 45 years of experience, Scott and Matt recount their professional trajectories and what has led them to life on the island. We dive into stories of their early days setting up shop to their visions of the future for one of the most niche development markets on one of the most western parts of Canada. It was awesome to hear Scott and Matt share their history, working relationships, and stories within the industry, and I hope you all enjoy. Yeah, and I heard this morning that you guys both flew, but both took two different types of flying, I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess, Scott, you want to start with how you got here?
I actually flew by helicopter. I flew helijet, and it's one of the four different modes of transportation that we have to get back and forth from Vancouver Island to the mainland here. So,
is that one of your preference, or do you have another preference?
I've been a loyal supporter of them. When we first opened up the Nanaimo office, I met with their sales team, and they gave me a discounted rate to fly, and they're still honoring that rate to this day, right? And we've been open for close to 8 years now. So
awesome. And how many people can fit in?
12.
12. Okay.
Yeah,
very cool.
12 persons. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yourself, Matt?
Yeah, I took a much more pedestrian method of travel, and I flew on a seaplane. So not quite as posh as the helicopter, which is also my preferred method of travel. And I also, thanks Scott, am blessed with the cheap rates as well,
the discount
which
rate.
is cool. But yeah, again, it's 20 minutes out of Nanaimo.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier off air is that you literally, depending on the camera, but you literally landed right behind the office.
Oh yeah.
Right
It's
there.
just you touch down on the water right outside the office, and it's a 5-minute walk up to the office, and you're just right there. It's if I include my travel time to get to the seaplane, and you have to be there a half an hour early, I'm basically an hour door to door.
Wow,
it's nothing.
It's a hell of a unique way to get to work.
Sure it is. Yeah, that's right.
I'd like to talk about a little bit of brief background about you guys, a little bit of an introduction. So where did you guys grow up, go to school, and how many years have you guys both spent in the industry?
Okay, I'll go first. I was born and raised in Victoria. Went to Camosun College, got a 2-year diploma. Ended up working for a while in the industry, and I decided I wanted to become an engineer, which I knew at a very early age. I think around grade 10, I knew that I wanted to head down the path of most likely civil engineering. So ended up going to UBC after working and got my degree, and I got a job in Nanaimo, and that was 32 years ago, and I've been there ever since. So I did the math here, because that's what we do as engineers, and basically entered Camosun College in 1986. So I've been 39 years from stepping in the door of college to where we are here now.
Wow.
So with 32 of the years with my degree.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
And that's all been on the West Coast, or have you traveled elsewhere for work?
I did a little bit of work up in Prince George when I was a student. I've done a little bit of work here on the mainland, but majority of my career, I would say about 99% of it is on Central Island and Vancouver Island, from Victoria all the way to Port Hardy.
Very cool. Was it something about just the West Coast that kind of kept you here, or was there other ties?
I was, with being born and raised in Victoria, I always wanted to be on the island. I did spend a summer up in Prince George as a summer student, and I ended up in the Fraser Lake area, which is just west of Vanderhoof, for a summer job. Worked on the University of Northern British Columbia up there when I was there. And when I left, it was like, I want to come back to the island. It was a good experience. I met a lot of great people, a lot of great experience. But Vancouver Island is my home, and being situated in Nanaimo was perfect for me at that time. Close to Vancouver, my family was in Victoria. A lot of recreational activities up and down the island, so it was the perfect fit for me, and I've been there ever since.
It's really interesting to hear because, again, I've heard a lot, even out of our Kelowna office, Josh and Jordan, and then Ben as well, is that they've grown up in that area, worked in that area, and then continued to just stay in that area, right? It's good to hear that the ties, not only with like family and then as well with work, are being able to kind of prosper throughout to keep them there. So it's really cool to hear. Yourself, Matt?
Yeah, I grew up in the Lower Mainland. Was somewhat of a later transplant to Vancouver Island. Moved over there in 2021. But I graduated from BCIT in 2010. Spent about a decade in the restaurant and bar industry. So I came into the civil engineering world somewhat later in life.
Yeah.
Didn't graduate until I was 30. And I've basically been at Aplin and Martin ever since, 15 years, right? Pretty much straight out of school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the transition point then, like going from school, I guess, or once you graduated into the bar and restaurant industry, how did that happen? And then back to
I mean, the restaurant bar industry just made a ton of money.
Okay.
Right? It had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Late nights and wine and beer with friends and that kind of stuff. And it was great for a time. Nights and weekends.
Yeah.
Long weekends, you're working. And it wore out after a while, and I figured I needed a big boy job if I was gonna grow up.
Time to put on a dress shirt.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. And it was pretty wild. It was a pretty wild transition. It was worth it. It was fun.
Yeah.
But BCT was hard, but it was good.
Very cool. Now, how did you guys both get involved in engineering? Was it somebody that kind of pushed you towards it? Was it something, again, that you guys have always thought about when you were younger? No one thinks about, oh my God, I love doing math. It's never really the path that you take to get there. But was there a motivation for each of you into how you kind of got into the engineering land development field?
I was at a house party in Ontario. I lived in Hamilton for a couple of years.
No girl ever says engineering school.
and I was planning on being an architect. That's what I was going to do.
Oh, okay.
I was going to go into architecture school. And I had some guy go, no, civil engineering. Look into it. It's better. And I was much more fascinated with the infrastructure side of things than I was with the building side of things.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to go even further back. When I was a child, we had a little dirt area right beside our driveway, and I had the little cars, and I used to take the cars and I would build the roads down this ramp off of this retaining wall down into a little area, and I'd have the tractors and all that sort of stuff. And it was like, I look back at it now and it was like that, I think, even helped me visualize a lot of the stuff we do today. Mm-hmm. And I was very young. I was just a boy at that point. But we had a neighbor that lived across the street from us that worked for Ministry of Highways, it was called back in the day, in Victoria and in the province here of British Columbia. It's changed names multiple times over the years. And I had a lot of discussions with him. And then around grade 10, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to become a civil engineer. And I started on that path. And there was a lot of challenges ahead of me. Like, I wasn't the smartest in the room.
Yeah.
With that being said, there was the technology program that I ended up going through Camosun College, and through the School of Hard Knocks, and put my head down and grinded it out day and night, where some people, the engineering aspects and math and all that came naturally. Yeah. I was able to hunker down and figure it out and make my way through the process. And after 39 years, here I sit today, and it's been an unbelievable, rewarding career.
Yeah, and it's interesting you said kind of that end part there, is that you were able to figure it out, because then that's kind of like the root of almost like what all-encompassing of what engineering is, right? It's problem solving. Being able to, here's kind of like what your end goal, how can I get from where I am currently to where I want to be?
Yeah, and that was one of the challenges I had after I got my diploma. There was the option to go back to Lakehead, which I'm sure you've heard on another podcast. That wasn't, at that point in my life, it wasn't an option for me. So I ended up looking at the option of going back to UBC, and how was I going to get into UBC? Mm-hmm. So I was able to take my diploma, and as I've watched a couple of the other podcasts, you get a couple credits here, but for the most part, I did the full 4 years.
Very cool.
At UBC to ultimately get my degree.
Awesome. So now, moving from those, what roles and responsibilities do you each currently have with Aplin?
So myself, I am a branch manager, senior project manager, and engineer of record, because right now I am the only seal in our office.
Okay.
So everything that comes out of our office on the land development, engineering side of things, I review, sign, and seal.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yourself?
Yeah, no. So my title is Project Delivery Services Lead. So I run the Project Delivery Services Business Group. So that's pretty much it. There's nothing. I'm not signing and sealing anything.
Yeah.
I'm literally just giving my services to clients and
Leading the business group.
Leading the business group. Yeah.
Very
that's
cool.
right.
So now that we kind of know again what the positions are, and I guess we'll get into the roles and the responsibilities a bit later. I'd like to talk a bit about kind of your career journeys and how you guys got to where you are, being leads and leaders of whether it's an entire service or an office itself, right? So a little bit more background kind of at the start of your career into where you are now.
Okay. So when I first graduated, I got a job for a consulting firm here, or in Nanaimo, and 2 years with them. The company ended up getting bought by, I think it was Stantec that bought them at the end of the day. There was a group of us that we actually left, and we formed a small engineering company on Vancouver Island, and I was a partner with them for 22 years. Ended up being a startup company, so learned everything of the operating a business and all that. After 22 years, there's some changes in dynamics of people moving on and retiring. And after 22 years, I stared at the same tree for 22 years from the office we were in. It was time for a change, right? So as I started to look for something new, I thought about going smaller, doing more of a one-man operation, but I'd been down that road before, and I'd been there, and I didn't want to do that. So I ended up getting connected with Ed, and Ed found out that I was looking for something, and we ended up sitting and having coffee, and we had
Coffee?
Yeah, no, it was actual coffee.
Okay.
And we had lunch as well too, and so. Ed was asking me what I was looking for, and I was looking for a change, and looking for some flexibility and expanding, doing different projects that I hadn't done, because I was basically, my area was central Vancouver Island, so I didn't really do much outside of the central Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
And I said to Ed, I said, "What are you looking for?" And he goes, "I want to get to Vancouver Island." And I'm like, "Oh, well, that's easy." And he's like, "Oh, it is?" Because I've tried a couple of times, and he hadn't been successful. So he says, "You could be my guy." And I said, "I can be your guy." And here we are, close to 8 years later, and we've a vibrant office there. And expanding and growing, and we're covering all of Vancouver Island, and everything that Ed had promised me that I was going to be able to do has come to fruition.
Yeah. So would you say, again, having kind of that background knowledge of obviously growing up there throughout your years and then working there as well was one of the bigger factors being able to help you kind of succeed to where you are now?
Yes, yeah. Is the local presence and the knowledge, and just the amount of time I spent in connections it just kept growing and growing and growing. So I'm sure Matt will tell you maybe a little story a little later about.
Yeah, Scott knows everybody.
Yeah. So,
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then Matt, what about your journey to Aplin, to where you are today?
To where I am today, yeah. I mean, as I said earlier, I was basically fresh out of school, and when at the time I graduated, I was working a summer job as a Township of Langley ops temporary worker.
Okay.
And just through some connections I'd made there, I had a job offer from B&B. Township of Langley wanted me to stay on, and ended up getting hooked up with Aplin and Martin for another job offer that I had. So I was actually dealing with 3 job offers at the time from the municipality, contractor, and the consultant. And I got some good advice from a mentor that I had that said, "Hey, listen, you can take the skills that you learn as a consultant and apply those to a contractor or a municipal role."
Yeah.
He's like, "You're better off to work as a consultant for a few years and then come back and work for us at the township." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Great, that was the plan," and clearly never went back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started off in the Surrey main office, worked there for a few years under Bill Lee, who was one of the old school Aplin and Martin guys.
Yep.
Helped open the Vancouver office in 2013. Left for a little bit did take a break and went to work for Shaw Communications, which was an interesting journey. And then got brought back into the fold by David and Jim in summer of 2017. And it's just been a journey ever since.
Yeah. Aside from them being able to be very persuasive, was there something specific that made you want to come back? Or what brought you back?
Sure. Yeah. No. Aplin has always had. It sounds so cliche to say this, but we really do try to have a small business mindset in our relationships, and that always came across to me. I was always treated very well working here. And it really, I mean, quite honestly, I was working as an inspector of all things for another consulting firm in the city of Surrey, and the job that they put me on was right in front of Aplin Martin's office.
Okay.
And I was bored, right? So I went into the office just to say hi, to say hi to some old familiar faces that I hadn't seen in some time. And David and Jim cornered me, didn't let me out of our boardroom until they had the opportunity to say, "Hey, listen, we have an opportunity that you think you may like." And I said, "No, I'm not interested, guys. Like, I'm trying something new. I'm not interested."
Yeah.
And then they told me the job that they were looking to fill, and I was like, "Oh crap, I'm kind of interested."
Now you got me using all the words.
And then I was like, "But you'd have to pay me more for this." And they're like, "Well, here's the salary range." And I was like, "Oh crap, that's a pretty good salary range."
Now they're 2 for 2, so now
that's right. And so it was a pretty easy jump back into it. As I said, David has treated me very well. Jim and Ed and Derek, I've been well treated here. Throughout my career, so it was an easy decision for me to come back.
So now let's talk about that new role again that you're kind of in, project delivery services. Can you define it for us?
So what we do is we provide owners support for typically municipalities or third-party utility companies. The general thought is there is such a lack of experienced bodies able to help and navigate complex projects that municipalities just need help. And so that's kind of how we've developed this business group. It started off with basically owner's engineer / owner's representative work for the city of Burnaby, specifically for Trans Mountain Pipeline and the Patello gas replacement project. So that was my role for them. I was their engineer and their representative for both of those projects.
Okay.
And really, we're just there to help navigate specifically some of the construction related issues, making sure that assets are being well maintained and taken care of through the course of other projects, other construction projects going through their rights of way.
Okay, and what areas are you currently operating in with this?
Still within the city of Burnaby. We're doing some work within the city of Maple Ridge. We've historically been doing some work within the city of Nanaimo. That's primarily the 3 areas that we're focusing on right now, and of course other municipalities across the Lower Mainland.
Okay, very cool. So now working within these areas, and I guess this would be a question for both of you guys, what makes, we'll talk about the island too. What makes specifically working on the island or within these other municipalities unique from, say, other areas in BC?
Speak to the island, Scott.
Yeah.
So the island, we always say it's a different world when you go to the island. It just operates differently than other places. And I've realized that when I came and I did do a little bit of work. I just thought it was the norm. I came to work out of the Surrey office. I've worked out of the Central City office. I've worked out of the Vancouver office here. I'm doing some work out at Nanaimo First Nations as well too. But my experience has been Vancouver Island and through. The islands are different in the sense that I actually added up one day. There is 44 different regulatory bodies on Vancouver Island.
Wow.
Which is like Ministry of Transportation, all the towns, all the regional districts, all that. At last count, we're working in over 30 of them right now with my team.
Oh, very cool.
So one of the unique things is just the diversification and just the standards they have in one part of the island. And I have a project, actually, it was like the municipal boundary between Colwood and Langford intersects our property. So we end up having the building on one site or one municipality and the parking area and stormwater management the other. So we have 2 design standards we have to follow to get this. So some of the things are challenging, right, from that perspective, right? And that is where I give kudos to my team all the time, just understanding each of these different municipalities and the nuances, right? So, and the island does operate at a different speed. Like on Friday at 4 o'clock or 4:30,
Yeah.
people are off. A lot of people are on the island for recreational purposes, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing that on their weekends and evenings and all of that, right?
So it's not only understanding, like you said, the regular shore bodies, but again, the type of lifestyle that you would say
Yes.
that's kind of embodied.
Vancouver Island.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah, and things just operate at a different pace on Vancouver Island with the same objective at the end, but it's just a different, it's a different vibe, right? I'll be in meetings and we've had people come over from Vancouver and it would be like some things get said in a meeting and it would be like someone's like,
That's an outsider, yeah.
where's that
Where's
coming
this
from?
guy?
Like, we don't talk like that here, right?
Yeah.
So, and
Okay, very cool.
it's really interesting to actually see it happen, and I have seen it with being ingrained in this culture right from my whole life, basically, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Matt, can you speak to that as well, having some experience and obviously working
Sure.
out of that office too?
Yeah, Island's a different place. Yeah. I've done it myself, and I've watched other people come from the mainland think that, hey, it's going to work just like it did in Vancouver or Surrey, and that is not. That is not what happens. Vancouver is its own unique animal. It's so close by. Like I said earlier, it's 20 minutes by plane.
I think that's the part that surprised me.
It might as well be 10 hours. It's just a different place. It's just a different world, and it's great. Like, we love it over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Now, what other, I guess, other unique things? Like you said, you've worked in a couple of different areas, kind of with the project delivery services. What makes those other areas unique, and with the services that you're looking to provide?
I mean, every municipality's got their own way of doing business, right? Every municipality's got their own reporting structure and what their expectations are, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of to be expected in the consulting line of work.
Yeah.
We just got to know the different standards and the specifications. Certainly in if you take a place like Nanaimo, we're also doing work out in Courtenay. They might not have the same expectations as, say, the city of Surrey, where the corridors are just tighter, or the city of Burnaby, where you're working in just tight spaces, and the logistics of moving from place to place are significantly more difficult interurbanly. Whereas a factor that we have to look at on the island is it's big.
Yeah.
Right. The distance from Nanaimo to Courtenay Comox, it's an hour. Right. So there's different logistics. There's different ways of approaching it. Island does seem to be, even though it's not a small town anymore, it does seem to have more of a small town kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Whereas the city, I mean, obviously, Burnaby is busy. It's a busy place.
Very cool. So now, as you guys kind of, as you said, you kind of started your office, and then you kind of started the new division. At the point when you guys were doing that, did you ever envision at that point in your careers again that you were almost kind of restarting within a new company?
Yeah, absolutely not. But I mean, hey, it's a good opportunity. Is a good opportunity.
Yeah.
And the cool part about PDS is trying to find atypical sources of revenue and atypical ways that we can build relationships with clients. Right. What I'm doing is not necessarily. And yes, I mean, we're trying to do work. We're trying to support our clients, but we're also turning into a revenue or a relationship generator, right? Where we can just get to know our clients and get to know our needs of what the municipalities are needing. And we can, in a lot of cases, turn that into opportunities for other business groups to grow and develop their portfolio as well.
And then for you, Scott, as well, you mentioned before that you didn't want to start, again, like you said, from ground zero when you're moving on from when the previous company got acquired. But in almost sort of a sense, you almost kind of were, right? Being, again, like I brought it up earlier, but I remember one time on a broadcast years ago, you were the only person in your office. Yes. Right? So in the sort of sense, you were literally starting brand new, and you had to, again, bring in talent, bring in people, right? Find the jobs, right?
Yeah.
How was that, and was that again something that must have been a welcome challenge for you then?
Yeah, like I said, I had done it before with a smaller group, and when I went down that path of decision I was going to make, it would be starting up everything. Like there's nothing I had to get an AutoCAD license, I had to get professional liability insurance. I had to do all that. The advantage of coming into Aplin Martin and starting a branch is all that stuff was taken care of, and I always had in my mind what I thought a good engineering company would be. and I've been in this consulting business. I'd been in it for 22 years
Yeah.
with a smaller group plus a couple of years. So I was probably like 25 years into this industry. And when I decided to join Aplin, they had figured a lot of this stuff out, and it was already done for me. So opening up a branch, I had to acquire the space, find talent, but the background behind it, of the marketing, the way that employees are treated, the technology that's available to us. I know that when I first met with Safar, I think the first question he asked me was, are you a hockey fan? And it was October, right? And the season was just starting.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, well, first thing I'm going to send you is the invite to the hockey pool.
Yeah.
That's how the conversation started with
Yeah.
Safar, which was great because I play hockey to this day and I'm
Yeah.
a fan, right? Then he led into with, do you have a digital seal? And I'm like, no. And he sort of said, oh, well. He goes, well, first thing we'll do is get you set up with a digital seal. And that was my introduction to it. It was like, oh, hey, like this is the first thing that a digital seal, which we didn't have at the places where I was with before, right? And that was the first sort of stepping stone, and it just grew from then. And as I went down the journey, it was like anytime I needed anything, I would just reach out to the Aplin Martin corporate team with Ed and Jim and David, and ultimately now Derek and Maggie and all that sort of thing. Anything I need to do my job, and that's what he said to me. Anything you need to do your job, just let us know, and we will we'll make sure you're taken care of, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty supportive group in that office.
That's exactly
They're
what I
pretty
was going to
supportive,
say,
yeah.
was that having, I guess, the support thrown behind you gives you almost confidence then to
Yeah.
know that, hey, okay, we
Yeah.
will be able to get more work, and we like for both of you guys.
And it allowed me to grow the business, whereas a lot of times I'd have challenges where I wouldn't have the support to be able to do a certain type of project. Now I could sell it based on now I have Scott Lewis is now a part of Aplin Martin, and Aplin Martin is going to provide the support, be able to move this journey forward on Vancouver Island. And,
Yeah.
very, very successful at how we move it forward. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome to hear, again, that where you guys have come from to how successful and working out of Nanaimo, where you guys both are now. What type of knowledge have you gained, again, from previous roles or advice that was kind of given down to you, whether there was a mentor in your life or there was project experience that you guys have had that was able to kind of make you get to where you are now on the island?
I think the biggest piece of advice I got from somebody was don't take it personally. When you're starting a new business group from scratch in a asymmetric way, this is totally new. First of all, I have all the support I could ever ask for from head office, which is great. Still, there's a certain amount of stress and a certain amount of challenge that goes along with starting a new business group. And the advice of not taking it personally, because there's going to be wins and there's going to be losses. And just keep going. Just keep pushing ahead. Don't let it get you down. It's not personal.
Yeah.
It's just doing the job.
So I've had several mentors in my career, with being as long as it has been. I have got some very good advice through colleges and my first starting jobs of how to navigate the path to the end, right?
Yeah.
And I remember way back after I had my diploma and I was working for Ministry of Transportation and Ministry of Highways at that time. And it was in the maintenance branch, and I remember sitting and talking to an engineer, and I said, I want to do what you do. I know exactly what I want to do here now, right?
Yeah.
And he gave me good advice of how to navigate the path to be able to get to where I did. So that was sort of the first on an education side, and then a lot of good professors at university and at college, right? And I kept in touch with being on the island with Camosun College. I kept in touch with those as well. As I moved through my career, I worked with some great engineers. One for which you worked right across the hallway from me for many years, and well respected. And he always said to me, he goes, first of all, make sure you always call your clients back when they call.
Yeah.
Right. That's the first thing. And if you have bad news, make sure you tell them the bad news sooner than later, because it's only going to get worse if you don't, right?
Yep.
And that was big one. And I think that one of the other ones is just taking care of yourself, right? There's different ways of dealing with stress in that, right? So that make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because it is a very stressful environment. So,
Yeah. But again, like you said, very stressful and very high paced, right? It's, again, that's the consult. Like there are a lot of demanding, whether it's hours or whether it's from clients or even internal pressure, right, to get something to another team member so that they can continue their job, right? Now, being able to take all of these different pieces of ideas and a lot of knowledge that you had from kind of your mentors and all these years of experience, how did these help you shape your vision for your own office and your own business group? And then what did you add from yourself on a personal level to this for how you guys want to run what you guys are currently running?
For me, the biggest thing that I've gleaned from my mentors over the years has been, first of all, being responsive. As Scott was just saying, calling back your clients right away is critical. But it's really easy to ignore calls or send calls to voicemail. But I do try to make a point of, and with my team as well, saying, hey, respond right away. Pick up the call whenever you can. It matters. But I also think it's about relationships, and that's been a huge thing for me. It's a huge focus in how I approach my stuff, my opportunities with clients and with my team, is about building relationships. It's a very small industry.
Yeah.
And even if I can't work with you right now on a project, maybe I can work with you in the future. It's as a small business group, we have wins and we have losses. We just lost out on a proposal like a few weeks ago that we were the incumbents. We were like, it was ours, and we lost it. And it's really easy to get beaten up by that. It's a little bit harder to just try to be pragmatic about it. Be like, no, it's just a relationship. We still have a relationship with the client. We have a relationship with the person that beat us out.
Yeah.
And it's just maintain that relationship, build and grow, and always look forward.
How were you able to kind of take that loss then, and then transition to a positive within? There's one thing again that you were able to internalize it as kind of the leader, but then how are you able to then, I guess, deliver that news and then make sure that kind of the team you're working with stays positive?
Oh, we went out for beers. That's the great equalizer.
Yeah.
It's actually quite wonderful just to be able to have a drink with your team, right? Yeah. And again, my team is small. I don't have the team size that Scott has. It's just me and another guy in the office, and I have some seconded staff as well.
Yeah.
But myself and Brady, right? When we need to celebrate the wins, we go have a beer. When we need to celebrate the losses, we can also have a beer.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe there's also a bottle of malt
something in between
somewhere around there. I don't know. Right. But it's just open communication. And talking about it, and we can pragmatically look at it. We can deal with the emotional side of it through just venting.
Yeah.
And then we can look at the pragmatic. Where did we win? Where did we lose?
Very cool. And then Scott, for yourself, when you were again starting the office years ago, what kind of vision did you have? Like, did you already have something in mind for what you wanted to shape the office as, or like what did you take kind of to form it?
Not to start with, because I was opening up a new branch with a new company and all that sort of stuff. So it just sort of naturally took its course. And the reason why the way it took its courses was a lot of my relationships, previous clients, previous contacts that I had, many people that I've worked with over decades now, right? That I started with one client, Island West Coast Developments. They've been my sort of rock from when I left the previous company I was with. And I'd like to give them a shout out wherever possible. And this is one opportunity I can. Yeah. They have provided me and a great working relationship. And the owner, Greg Constable, I worked with him for over 30 years, right? So when I moved, he moved with me, right? Mm-hmm. So which gave us the sort of the foothold to be able to start to grow the office, right? And then just picking up another client here, another project here as we evolved, right? So, and here we are, like 8 years, and I have a relationship is what I feel is probably the sort of the cornerstone, and where we are. And I had a situation where I was working on a project where I needed some information about the water system in the city of Nanaimo. Well, I went to school with a friend of mine who runs another consulting firm, and I just sent him a text. I'm like, hey, I've got a question for you, right? And we text back and forth in the middle of a meeting with a client, and I'm like, I'll see if I can get an answer to this for you right now, right? It got very complicated what we were dealing with. He finally just says, hey, how about we just have lunch tomorrow? And I'm like, okay, sounds good. And I said, I need till tomorrow to answer your question.
Yeah.
We went and had lunch, had a beer, right? Talked about old times, talked about families and where we were at and upcoming holidays. And he pulled out the sketch plan and we went through it in detail. So like I said, the cornerstone of the success on Vancouver Island is what I find is the relationship that I've developed for many, many, many years, right? And and keeping those from the regulatory bodies to the clients, to the contractors, to clients, right? Being active in the with professional development and also keeping in touch with the universities and all that. It's a huge, huge ecosystem that you have to be actively involved in it, right?
Yeah.
And the nice thing about Aplin Martin, they will allow us to provide the resources that we can actually achieve that, right? So.
And I think you guys mentioned again offline is that I know, Matt, you were joking that Scott knows everybody on the island, and he mentioned that he has a lot of, like you said, a lot of communication with regulatory bodies, municipalities, and clients as well. Did you want to share that now?
Oh yeah, it's terrible to go out for lunch with them, right? Because you go out for lunch and it's like, hey Scott, do you want to go have a working lunch where we can strategize about something? And he spends half an hour chatting to a dozen people that he knows in the restaurant, you know, whether it's somebody that is on the volleyball team with one of his girls or some, you know, somebody that works for a regional district that he knows from school or something like that. Yeah, the guy's very well connected.
Food gets cold.
Quite ridiculous.
Food gets cold when you eat with him. Then.
More likely, I'm going to clear my plate and he's still
And he's still
yeah, that's right.
That's funny to hear then.
Yeah.
Now again, with all the experience and all the lessons learned, where do you guys have a vision, each individually, then for the project delivery services, and then for Nanaimo, kind of looking into the future?
Go ahead.
Okay, so where we're at right now, I'm currently the only professional engineer in the office at the current time, so that's sort of limiting our growth at this present moment. So I can only review, sign, and seal as to where I'm at right now. But with that being said, we have a new employee who's going to be starting with a P.Eng here in July, and another current employee, Eric Garby, who is about to get his professional limited license. So I'm going to be going from one seal to basically 3 signing authorities in our office. So it's going to be able to take some load off of me and be able to take and use all of my connections and contacts and continue to grow the office. And I'm hoping, like, if we look back in the next couple of years, we add a couple new staff each year, and I think we're including Matt's team. We have 14 in the office right now with our student right now. So we've actually got to the point now where every seat is full, and we're going to have to do some remote work and sharing of desk space, which it's hard to believe. When I first walked into that office, I walked around and it was Carmen Lowe was our first transfer in from the Surrey office, and it was her and me sitting in this big office. And I'm like, how am I going to fill this office?
How are we going to do this?
How am I going to fill this? What's this office going to be actually like once it's full, right? And here we are today, right? So we look forward to the next couple of years to continue to do what we're doing, because what we've been doing, it seems to be right, as we've been growing, right? So,
and how many municipalities did you say you've worked with out of the island? You said there were 44?
44 regulatory bodies on Vancouver Island, right?
Okay.
And I think at last count, we're working in 30 of them. So, but
is it ultimately a goal to hit all 44, or is that something that?
Well, it was like there's some pretty remote ones on Vancouver Island up there that we.
Sure there are.
One of the things that to mention to Matt's point about the different municipalities, like City of Duncan, like City of Duncan's a city, but if you pull up City of Duncan, there's only 6,000 people there.
Okay.
Because it's sort of tucked in around the municipality of North Cowichan, right? So municipality of North Cowichan is huge, right? So when Matt and ourselves go in, it was like there's not a whole lot of population base to be able to generate funding for a lot of the infrastructure they need. So we're working with North Cowichan. We're doing a water main up the Trans-Canada Highway right now for the new hospital that they're building right now as we speak. One of the things about that project is it's not required for it, but it's a part of their redundancy in their system that they need this water main. Well, they're going out for grant funding, so we've designed it with our teaming up with our capital works team in our Surrey office that we were able to meet this, meet all the deadlines and all the technical aspects that we need to do. We have a lot of expertise in those offices we can lean on out of our Vancouver Island office, and it ultimately comes down to some of these municipalities. The challenge that I know that Matt has is because they don't have the funding to be able to move a lot of these projects forward, so it has to come from the federal government or other different sources that they have through grant funding. So
So securing extra support from external agencies basically to complete.
funding.
Yeah, they don't have
Ultimately.
the capital.
Yeah.
From their property taxes or other revenues to fund a lot of the major projects that need to be done. They're dependent on grant funding. And it's interesting because you can track that. You can track that when you look at their capital plan for the next year. You can be like, oh, UQLIT just got a lot of money from the feds this year.
Yeah, why
Right.
exactly?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, very cool. Interesting.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about being well connected with each of these municipalities and different contacts and all that sort of stuff to make sure that you're on top of this stuff as it's coming down the pipeline at you, right?
So again, you're almost able to project or able to see kind of what you're going to be able to work with.
Or focus your
Efforts.
in your business groups, right? So a lot of times we'll bring in planning, we'll bring in architecture.
Yeah.
We now have surveying on Vancouver Island, which was a challenging task to find someone that we're going to be able to bring onto our team to be able to provide those services. We now have that in our office as well. So
Very cool.
yeah.
And then Matt, I guess for yourself, what does growth vision look like for project deliveries group?
Yeah, so growth vision certainly continuing to try to grow on Vancouver Island and on the Lower Mainland as well. We're the target is to kind of be there as tertiary support and coexist along with the other business groups. We want to be in partnership with transportation or capital works or planning. And we find unique opportunities to do that. Recently I've just started doing a lot of, strangely enough, policy writing for various municipalities, right? Which is kind of something that's kind of gone along with planning. That's typically kind of their wheelhouse. But there's also an engineering aspect of that. So now we're kind of helping to supplement that. And so I find that my business group's growth and where I'm targeting PDS to go is to be in these support roles, to add these extra bodies, to add experienced bodies where we can offer advice and guidance to our clients to be like, hey, we've seen this before. Maybe don't go that direction. Maybe go this direction.
Yeah, lean on the experience that you guys had as well as kind of the company as a whole then.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Very cool. Now I want to talk about a little bit about those kind of projects that, again, and the experience that you guys have had. Did you guys each have I want to call it like a favorite project or a project that you were most proud of from your career so far?
Sure. Yeah. Without a doubt, mine is the Southlands project. Yeah. That's like the project that landed on my plate when I first came back to Aplin in 2017. The Southland is this just big master planned community by Century Group. And I'm wildly proud of that project. I was the CA and the project coordinator for the first 2 phases of that project. I think we did something like $30 million worth of infrastructure installation in those first 3 stages. Water mains, roads, it was extensive. The community itself is beautiful. It's Century Group took a large piece of land. If I recall correctly, it's around 150 acres. And they could have just crammed it full, right? And they didn't. They've given it space. They've got a great vision for that community, and it's absolutely beautiful. And anybody that hasn't taken the trip to drive down there, it's well worth it. It's an absolutely fantastic community.
Very cool. Was there anything kind of that you learned from doing that project? Like, was there I'm assuming there were challenges. Was there a specific lesson that you may have learned kind of with the project? Like you said, master plans take years and years to develop, right?
Document control. Document control. I think the last time I checked on that, and now there has been numerous phases since my involvement ended, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 site instructions.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to say 75 change orders, right? Because the dynamic nature of a site that big where you're dealing with ground conditions that you're doing your best to deal with. But when you're dealing with 150 acres, it's challenging, right? And then, we had a great partner in Hull on that site where Hull was able to give some of their advice. We do our best on our engineered drawings, as we always do, but there's things that happen in the field that change what your expectations are.
Yep.
And contractors can have really valid, important advice about, hey, I know you guys designed it like this, but have you considered this? And it was a huge takeaway on that site was learning how when the civil engineer and the contractor and the developer are all working together collaboratively, you're setting yourself up for success. If you have one of those three groups that is not stepping up and doing their role, it can sabotage the whole project.
Yeah.
And so on that project specifically, the three groups were really working very well. Like it was going like full on.
Yeah.
And it was great. And we developed this really great collaborative relationship. I mean, the clients and I we still communicate. Even though I haven't worked on the project in a few years.
Yeah.
And
We'll
he's
still check in.
we still check in every now and again, and it's been pretty cool. Yeah.
Very cool. Scott, yourself?
Oh, I don't even know where to start. We could do a whole podcast on all of the great projects I've done on Vancouver Island. So I did, early in my career, was fortunate enough to be able to work on Woodgrove Mall, which was, we doubled the size of the mall at the end of 2000, right? So I did this with the other company I was with, right? But it actually set me up for success for malls. I did do Cowichan Commons, which was one of the shape properties projects in North Cowichan. Very, very proud of that. Tight timelines. It was a Canadian Tire. We moved 60,000 cubic meters of material.
Wow.
Built a Home Depot, built a Canadian Tire, a Future Shop, and some other buildings, right? I worked on the project pretty much full-time for like 4.5 years. So, and that rolled over into it. I would probably say in Nanaimo, I started my marquee project, and it was there's a Canadian Tire and there's a significant size retaining wall that we actually designed with a team.
Yeah.
And we built, and anytime that anyone talks about walls or all that sort of stuff, I pull up a picture of that, and everyone knows this wall. They light it up at night. It was and everyone knows about this wall that was. And we had some design challenge that we had to get through, and we made it through at the end of the day. So that was sort of in my past, and as we move into where with Aplin Martin, Aplin Martin's been allowed me to be able to expand out. So I worked on a review project for one project, right, which was a long history of a project site that I was actually involved in. I worked with David Chan on Nanaimo First Nations. We started in 2018. We're still working on that, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be in for the future. And then my latest, biggest project was the Nanaimo Correctional Center, which was a design build with Stuart Olson, which ultimately became Bird Constructors at the end here now, as we're wrapping up the project. But that was probably one of my more interesting projects that I've had to deal with, just from the perspective of all the different design challenges you have for designing infrastructure within a correctional facility, and all the little nuances that you wouldn't even think of until you're sitting around with this group.
Yeah.
I have a funny story. I was sitting around this group when we were on the design team, and it was like, it's not every day you build a correctional center, right?
You're building, a prison.
And it was like, they're like, the team I was with, they're like, well, actually, no, Scott, that's all we do.
We literally
that's all they do. So they move all around North America and different countries and all that. And it is an expertise. So it was really cool to be a part of something like that doesn't get built every day.
Yeah.
Right? And some of the design challenges we had were amazing. And just the logistics saying, we are moving the residents from this facility to this facility on this date, and everything has to be up and running in place. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right?
Yeah.
So making those dates and making sure that everything was right, and then not having the ability to go back into the facility once it's all been locked down, right? So it was really interesting to be a part of that, right? And we're just basically finalizing the final record drawings and wrapping the project up right now. And we started that in 2000, so that was like a 5-year project, right? Wow. And did it through COVID as well, too, right?
So definitely something to be proud of. Was there, out of all those projects then, was there a moment specifically where there was a lesson that you learn that you still remember to this day?
I wouldn't say a lesson, but and I tell this to a lot of my staff and people I mentor. Civil engineering and engineering in general, it's something you just can't come out of school and just be able to, 3 months from now, you get it, you understand. It takes years and years to be able to get to that point. And I can remember one day, a new project came in, and I remember sitting there and saying, I know exactly how to get from here to the finish. And it was like this light came on, right? And it was just one of those moments in your career, and I'll never forget it. I can still remember being there, right? And I tell this to a lot of my staff and a lot of the young engineers I'm mentoring. I said, you will get there, and I hope that you have the realization when you do get there, right? So it's pretty cool when you do get there, right? But it might happen in 2 years, might happen in 5 years, but it will happen in these...
Takes time.
In these kids, as I call them, careers. Yeah, so...
So now, speaking to again, like you said, to younger staff and to, I guess, people that you're mentoring or that you're going to be bringing up, whether it's, again, in your own business group or in your office, what kind of advice would you give them, say, if it's a new grad or someone else that's coming new into your team? What kind of advice would you give them if they're looking or they're struggling kind of with their career currently?
I mean, it's so very specific to the situation, but I mean, again, I said before, don't take it personal. Just do your job. Don't let it get you down. There's good days and there's bad days. Put in the hours. Put in the time. Put in the time to learn your job, right? That's just one thing that's kind of, I didn't realize how important it was when I was first starting out is, like Scott said, you don't just graduate from school and think that, oh, hey, I can be a civil engineer now. It's like, no, you got to learn your role, right? You got to learn your role, take some time outside of your hours, outside of your work day to figure stuff out if you need to. I think that's really important. Like, we have to learn. Like, this job, we're mandated by our professional associations to learn anyways. But learning shouldn't be a thing that you go do and go like, oh crap, it's October, I got to get my 30 hours in.
Let me cram.
Let me just like cram in some stuff. You should be taking the opportunity throughout the year to continue to learn and develop and grow. And it's really important to keep it's part of growth mindset, right? Because you're not only trying to grow, in my case, a business group, but I'm trying to grow as a person and a professional as well.
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand, right? Like, as somebody kind of goes through their career, your personal life continues to go on, your personal relationships, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yourself, a younger Scott, what would he be wanting to hear today?
A younger Scott.
What would you tell yourself, whether moving to Aplin or even before that, getting into the profession?
So, this is a very good question, and there's a couple of aspects to it. One would just be how you want to advance through your career, right? And I know that there's sometimes you sit at your desk, you love doing some stuff, and there's some tasks as a civil engineer that you don't enjoy. There's different projects, right? Civil engineering, as you probably heard, is very diverse in the different avenues you can take between transportation and capital works and land development and those, right? So I think the advice I'd give to start with would be find what interests you and you have a passion for, right? That is probably the best one, because if you end up going down a path which you don't enjoy, right, it's probably going to be a long career. But if you go down what I've been fortunate enough to do, I've been able to go down a path of exactly what ultimately where I enjoy my job. I enjoy working on land development projects. I can look at a project now and I can just see it from start to finish, right? And it was just trying to get that out of my head and pass that information along to others. And I think probably the most important thing that I've learned in my career is ultimately taking care of your health. It's very, very stressful at times. You have deadlines to make. If something goes wrong and you've designed something wrong, I have found over probably the last 15 to 20 years that I'm on a regular exercise program where I get up and I do it in the morning. Yeah. And I say to everyone I talk about, it was like I take care of myself in the mornings, and that's when I do it before I take care of anybody else, right? And I found that in stressful situations, if I'm not on my program, I feel it, but if I'm on my program that I do to take care of myself, there's not much that phases me in a day now, right? So, and I think that's probably, at the end of the day, probably if one of my biggest advice that I found to where I'm at now, if I was to look back and tell myself, because it took me a while to get there, when I realized if I was taking care of myself, it helped me at work.
Yeah, find a routine basically, and your routine's not going to be the same as the next person's
Exactly.
routine, right? Or my
Yeah.
routine or Matt's
Yeah.
routine, right? It's finding something that works for yourself, and then being able to kind of start it and then continue it out,
Yeah.
right?
And
Because
it
it's a
might-
life thing. It's not a week thing, right? This is, it's a routine
exactly.
that you're
And it
gonna
might be
have
in
to
the evenings, or it might be at lunch, or it might be in the mornings, or
Yeah.
it might just be on weekends, or something like that, to help deal with that level of stress and keep yourself healthy, because that's ultimately that's the most important thing of all of this, right?
Yeah,
So,
of course. Now, I'd like to end off with this one more question for you guys here. Again, going back to, again, the theme of start a new business group, that can be, obviously has its own challenges, and probably, like you said, it wears down on you, like trying to grow something, right? That constant pressure. What part of either A, your team, and B, the job makes you keep coming back to work to have the motivation to continue to do what you guys do?
I mean, I think, excuse me as I scratch my nose. I mean, the challenge is so, I don't know, it seems so cliche to say the challenge, but there's something nice about the challenge. There's something nice about being under a little bit of stress. Too much stress is bad for you.
Yep.
Not enough stress is bad for you. Having just a little bit of stress in your life is probably a good thing. And relationships. I'm a huge fan of relationships. But the weird thing I find is I'm getting older now, and all of a sudden I went from like the young guy to one of the old guys, or getting older guys,
Yeah.
not quite as old.
The transition guy, yeah.
I'm still young. at heart.
I'm really starting to find joy and fulfillment out of mentoring. I've had a few people in say the last 6 months say to me just in passing, "Hey, we really appreciate what you did. You taught us so much."
Yeah.
And I'm actually finding that is really, out of all things in my career, is that is starting to mean a lot to me, and it's starting to be the thing that I want to go back and do more of.
Yeah.
I really, really like investing in people, and I really like building people up, and I really like seeing the growth and the success of people. And I'm like, if I can have a hand in that success, I'm like, well, let's go. That's a great day.
Yeah, almost again like investing kind of into the future, because then eventually they'll be able to, whether it's back to you or back to somebody else, or even just, you know what I mean? You don't know what project they're going to go on
That's
to
right.
work on, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Being able to have kind of that little piece in somebody's future, you don't know where it's going to take
It's
them.
huge. Yeah, it's huge. That's the reason. It's the reason. I mean, as a parent, it's what I do for my kids, and it's like I would never go so far as to say, well, the young people that I mentor are like my children. No, not at all. But I am a full-fledged member of Aplin and Martin. This company has been amazing to me, and the least I can do is give back to the company by building up a new generation of leaders, right? So one day when I'm sitting in Scott's chair, you know, I'm almost there, Scott.
Next week.
He's like, I'm ready to go golfing. He's like, I'm ready for IT times.
You know, I want to see a new generation of
Yeah.
young people having their success.
That's awesome to hear. Scott, yourself?
Okay, what keeps you coming back each day? Well, I have dedicated my whole working career to this industry. Right, started in grade 10. I basically went on this path, and over the 39 years since I entered that day of college, it was like I've gained an incredible amount of knowledge of the industry, basically top to bottom, and on the land development side. I've met an incredible amount of people and relationships. So what keeps me coming back each day is my passion for what I started, and I still have it to this day when a new project comes in, and I'm not going to be doing the work, but I have all of this knowledge and experience, and I know the path to start this, to get it finished. And I'm at the point of my career, I'm ready to pass all of this, or as much as I possibly can, along to my team,
Yeah.
basically, and anyone who wants to work under me or wants to become a part of our team here in Nanaimo, or even the other branches. And I hope that I always say to them, even if anyone has a question that no one else can answer, I say that to the Aplin team as a whole whenever we go to the events, just you have a situation or problem, just give me a call.
Yeah.
Right. I've even had other consultants call me, where in the industry it was like they ran into a situation, and one guy said, "Just phone Scott. He'll help you. Right?
Yeah.
He's most likely been down that path before." And I had competitors call me, and it was like, and that's something, and I feel grateful that people are comfortable with reaching out to me in that sense, and I'm able to pass that along.
Yeah.
To them, right? And so as I move towards my twilight of my career now,
You're still young.
yes,
You said.
thank you. My passion for the actual engineering design side of things is still there, and I get some situations where I may get a little bit too involved in it, right? I can look at a set of drawings and I can pick up mistakes right away, but I've been doing this for so much longer than a lot of the staff and the people I deal with, right? And it's just become second nature. I don't even have to think about this. I look at it, I'm like, know exactly the path, right? So passing that along is my end goal here in all of this, right? So that a legacy that I live behind would be I worked under Scott Lewis, and I learned from him.
That's super cool, even though you mentioned before that other consultants, again, because obviously engineering, like, we like to pride ourselves on, I like to say, being somewhat smarter, being able to somewhat solve problems. But even if it's somebody from, like you said, a different consulting firm coming to you, I feel like that's got to be, that's a certain other sense of pride, kind of, that you, like, good pride. We're able to say, wow, okay, that not only do I have a relationship with somebody from somewhere else, but then they're looking to me for my own guidance.
Yeah. And it all goes back to that relationship, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's all we have for today. I'd like to thank Matt and Scott again for joining us and sharing their experience and knowledge. And thanks to the listeners of the workshop by Aplin Martin. Stay tuned for our next episode. Have a great day.